like reputation wise what D'Angelo Russell is. I don't even know if he's
Adolf Hitler, according to half of the basketball community. Is it there's two sections of fans or people in the media that think that D'Angelo Russell is the Adolf Hitler of basketball. One is the Russillo, old school, coded racist.
Yeah.
Keep hip hop out of basketball style, Republicans. And then there's the other half, which is if he's been on your team and your team made the playoffs. So if you're a fan of like the Lakers or the Wolves, for example, it's funny that he's going back to the Nets because it feels like that's the only fan base that has positive memories of him.
Yeah.
Because it's not that he didn't have success with the Lakers from time to time, but it did feel like he was accepted because the bar is so low for the Nets compared to the Lakers and the other franchises that he's played. Not that Minnesota has like a great history, but obviously since they've traded him, they made the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
And he was also playing with Anthony Edwards, who, everyone assumed would be, a top 5 player by this point. He's probably a top 15 player, 20 player in the NBA.
Yeah.
And I think that because of the if you have Nets fans' expectations for D'Angelo Russell, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah.
If you have Lakers fans' expectations for D'Angelo Russell, you'll probably be a little disappointed, is what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah. We were just discussing, Harrison, but before you logged on, is D'Angelo Russell the worst basketball player to ever play basketball in the NBA, or is he a sneaky important part of this Lakers team? Is removing him the Jenga block that will bring this entire tower crashing to the ground?
Those are the only two options?
It's one or the other. It's one or the other.
I was going to say, I think the Nets may have messed up here because not only did they send one of the most promising young prospects in the NBA to Los Angeles and 28-year-old Shake Milton. I think just hitting his prime right now. He's ready to go. I think this is the undiscovered gem of the trade. But also, the Nets might have just messed up their tank because D'Angelo Russell gets better the lower the stakes are. And so playing in meaningless games for a Nets team that is actively trying to tank, like he might make the All-Star team.
It's definitely, the last time he played for the Nets, he made the All-Star team. It's literally,
they're going to have to trade him again.
Yeah.
To the Warriors to complete the cycle. It's
exactly. Just keep
around
circling. And then a year
this is the shooter Steph needs next to him to replace Clay.
And then he can be in the Rudy Gobert trade to the Wolves.
I just want to, are you aware of Shake Milton's real name, Harrison?
No.
His real name is
genuinely
Malik.
I'm not.
Malik, and the last time the Lakers got a Malik M, Malik Monk.
Yeah,
their fortunes. Wow,
it worked out.
I definitely thought it was going to be something like I thought it was going to be one of those like 26 character long names or something,
or like Ricky Council, where literally everyone in his family is named Ricky. He's Ricky Council the fourth, but his brother is Ricky Council the first, and then Ricky Council the second, and then Ricky Council.
Did you know the reason for that?
I can't remember.
It's his dad said that he named his first son after him, and then he didn't want any of his other sons to feel like he loved them less by not being named Ricky after him. Yeah. So he just named all his kids Ricky.
I'm stealing genius. That. Yeah.
With all my kids that are definitely on the horizon.
At first I was like, this is narcissistic. And then I'm like, well, I mean, I guess that's actually kind of sweet.
Exactly. Yeah. And the good news for Sam is that Sam has a gender neutral name. Anyone can be named Sam.
Yeah. I'm naming all first one boy. Sam Sheehan the first. Second one, girl. Sam Sheehan the second.
Yeah.
I can't wait until Trill the second, Trill the third, and Trill the fourth inherit the podcasting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. They're just waiting for the throne right now. My cat's currently waiting for the throne.
Dewey the second.
So let's talk about the trade, because bits aside, it's really funny because I've kind of gone back and forth on this one a little bit. I think from the Lakers' perspective, I think they did good work in this trade in terms of getting a clear playoff level two-way wing. Maybe it's a little generous for Dorian Finney Smith. He can shoot and finish around the basket at a minimum.
Yeah.
And I've kind of comped him to like almost like a new age PJ Tucker type, where he's not going to do a ton for you offensively, but he'll do a few of the little things that you need. He'll stay out of the way. He'll know when to cut and when to shoot and do all of the things that usually the kind of players that play off the creators like LeBron, they tend to thrive in those contexts. And then they obviously also got Shake Milton, which is kind of just, a gamble on, I think he makes the minimum on a non-guaranteed contract right now. And look, the last time Shake was in LA, that was not the last time, but one time Shake was in LA, he almost ended Paul George's life, and he dropped his career high against the Clippers. So being back in, now that it's called the crypto, I don't know if he will be able to recapture the magic of what he did in the Staples Center.
Not even Spencer Dinwiddie could recapture the magic in the crypto arena. And that was very disappointing. I thought we were about to get like Spencer Dinwiddie was about to be like the Lakers' third star in an arena named after crypto. I was like, this is too powerful of a force entering him right now. And then it just
it's clear that he needs to be in a more conservative area to thrive because he's been crushing it in Dallas again.
He has a hard time when he's playing and he's like, oh man, like some of the money from the shot is going to go to taxes.
Yeah. It hangs over your
head. And
it's
just distracting him,
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like he wants the free hand of the marketplace to be able to, determine his fortunes.
Yeah, the Adelson version of Dinwiddie is a problem. I think that everyone can agree. Adelson era Spencer Dinwiddie is a bucket and a problem. The Bus family is too communist, clearly, to actually make it so that he can perform well. But so
he's been playing laissez-faire defense for quite some time. So boom.
Certainly no regulation in his shot selection.
No.
So the Lakers get Dorian Finney Smith and Shake Milton. The Nets get D'Angelo Russell, Maxwell Lewis, and 3 seconds. By the way, any thoughts on Maxwell Lewis, Harrison?
One of the worst NBA players I've ever watched. I was like, I watched his Pepperdine. I believe it was Pepperdine he went to, if I'm remembering. Yeah. I watched his highlights when the Lakers got him, and I'm like, I know this is like lower level college basketball, but like the level of athleticism he had, I'm like, this guy is electric.
Yeah.
This is going to be so much fun to watch an end of bench units. And then it's like, I don't think he knows how to play basketball. So that's like a minor setback for him as a prospect.
That is perfect. Sean Marks is really good at getting wings who are very athletic and have no idea how to play basketball. Keon Johnson, in my opinion, should be in the MVP race right now because I don't think there has been one player that has hurt. If the objective of the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Denver Nuggets, and the Milwaukee Bucks are to win regular season games and win the championship, and the objective of the Nets is to be the worst team in the NBA.
No, Keon Johnson will absolutely help that.
Keon Johnson and Maxwell Lewis might make this, even D'Angelo Russell and Cam Johnson hot streaks. They might be they might make the tank just they're fully tank proof players in terms of just being able to preserve the tank.
Yeah, I know Lakers fans obviously have a rep for getting really mad at role players and having unreasonable expectations and whatever online. But last year's deep bench group, featuring Maxwell Lewis largely, is one of the worst groups of and most unserious groups of NBA players I've ever watched. They gave up I think it was like a 13-1 run to the Wizards or something in like a minute. It was like in a minute, and they had to put the starters back in to hang on to the game. I had never seen a coach have to put his starters back in because his deep bench did so bad that they needed to make sure that they preserve the win.
He's one of those players that, once again, I agree.
He's been okay in the G League.
And in Summer League, at lower levels, he kind of balls.
Yeah.
Like in Summer League, he had some moments where I was like, all right, Maxwell Lewis, like you, and then immediately when he plays in the context of like actually athletic NBA players, all of his advantages that he gets at lower levels goes out the window. Before you continue there, Sam, he is one of those players that if you sort like any advanced stat, he is always in the bottom 5. Like there's like no advanced stat that Maxwell Lewis is not one of the worst players in the NBA.
No, yeah, he's got to have one of the worst plus minuses in Lakers history.
Yeah,
like there's no way.
We'll just put it in chat. He had a negative 39 per 100 on off swing last season.
I'm not sure that anything encapsulates how bad that deep bench group was last year better than that stat.
Yeah, I mean, Sean Marks might have just made the trade of the century now that I think about it.
Well, here's what so first of all, I want you guys to put a little bit of respect on Maxwell Lewis's name. He made the heist with Macklemore, and that's something that everyone's, we should be thanking him for. Beat out Good Kid, Mad City for album of the year. It's obviously a very strong album. Second of all, I mean, I do think, like, I guess my thing when kind of framing this trade is about, because when I saw the trade come through, I'm like, damn, no firsts. Nice piece of work by the Lakers. Like, I think that, Dorian Finney Smith is a real rotation player you can play. And that now are the Lakers deluding themselves into thinking that they can win any playoff series this year? I mean, maybe, maybe it is bad to like continue to go push further in that direction. But like for the stated aims of the Lakers, which are trying to make the playoffs, and like the West is clustered up enough, if they get hot, who knows, maybe they can sneak their, I think they're top 6 right now, right? Like they're 6th, I think.
They're in that range.
West.
Yeah,
they're like a game and a half out of that. But when I started like looking at the numbers, there are so many fascinating numbers around D'Angelo Russell, like in this like Lakers tenure. I had a very hard time figuring out.
I believe
exactly
he's still the leader in plus minus for the team and like net rating and stuff for the team right now. Yeah, it's so bizarre because like his EPM is like 4th. Like the behind like who you would think like Reeves, LeBron, and Anthony Davis, but then like all of his like Vorps and Schnorps are like middle, like just hard middle, 166, 100, whatever, everything like that. Is there a chance, maybe I'm a little too contrarian brain, is there a chance, because they're not really replacing any ball handling on that roster? It's not really Shake Milton's for.
I was going to say, is Shake Milton going to start for this team?
No.
They did. I do just want to say, I think the Lakers made a massive mistake not making this trade in October, because December Shake Milton is one of the greatest players I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
By the time we get around to February, you're asking yourself, is he an NBA player sometimes? But in December and sometimes January, I mean, he's played some of the best basketball I've ever seen from a guard. Also, low bar, he is on the Sixers, our best. We've had like 2 good guards in like the last like 15 to 20 years. So
it's like him and then current Kyle Lowry and then Maxey.
Yes,
like,
yeah, exactly.
Like the top 3.
Yeah, James Harden's somewhere in there.
No, James Harden's 4th. He's clearly playoff choker.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I guess what's fascinating, because I think this was a good trade, like on paper, like D'Angelo Russell for some of the other things. But I guess I'm interested to think what the Lakers' plan is, because I do think they need ball handling now, right? Like, and I'm wondering.
Also, just want to point out the guard market for this, as someone who we need another guard. Like we are playing Kyle Lowry and Reggie Jackson and sometimes Eric Gordon way too much. It's tough to get a guard right now. And I'm wondering if the Lakers looked at this situation and they said, look, we're not going to re-sign D'Lo this offseason. He obviously is kind of fallen out of favor. It's pretty obvious JJ Redick doesn't like him. Are the D'Lo...
No, Trill, what are you talking? JJ Redick talked to D'Lo this summer more than any other player on the roster. Okay? Wow. That was a real thing that he said. Him and D'Lo were in touch more than any other player on the roster. I'm sure they were talking about, I'm going to start the roster that went, the lineup that went 21-3, Zach, before going away from it after 5 games, because I realized.
He was on the phone like, just double check. You make 18. I'm in the trade machine right now. You make 18.6 million. Is that right? I'm trying to scour across the league. I'm talking to Pelinka right now, trying to figure out how to get you the fuck out of here.
I think every player in the NBA prefers to call D'Angelo rather than text him. just think that is the preferred method of communication.
You know, let's paper trail that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
D'Lo's not even in the team group chats. They just call him to let him know where they're going to be that night.
Tell him where to go.
It's like that clip of
They make the rookies go to his room and tell him where they're going to be.
That's what Jalen Hood-Schifino is on the roster for. To go down the hall and let him know.
when Kanye was making The Life of Pablo and called Taylor Swift and Kim Kardashian films everything, they do that with D'Angelo Russell just to have like a record there. Like, I just want to be clear that we have this on the record that we did communicate with him.
Yeah, they're like, we have the full context for this clip in case D'Lo is also recording.
Exactly. You know? But yeah, so the Lakers obviously once again, I think Dorian Finney Smith, if you're trying to win a playoff series, is the best player in this trade. And I think that I kind of think the Nets fucked up by not trading him almost immediately when they got him, because I remember when that trade happened, which was kind of out of nowhere because it was the Kyrie trade. Kyrie demands a trade a week before the deadline. KD obviously asked out a few days later. And in one instance, the Mikal Bridges instance, the Nets made the right decision of holding on to him and waiting until his value was at all-time high and got one of the craziest hauls we've ever seen for like a very good, but not like all NBA level player.
High-level starter,
good player, not worth 5 first-round picks or whatever they gave up. Having said that, Cam Johnson also has taken his value seemingly through the roof right now. We'll see if they end up trading him. I'm sure they will sometime in the next month. Dorian Finney-Smith is the one that I felt like could never really get his value to a level where you would get more than what if you were to have flipped him immediately, even though he's having a really good season. Like, I think the thing about Dorian Finney-Smith is I compared him to PJ Tucker earlier. Who did PJ Tucker historically play best off of? Harden, Giannis, high-level playmakers, Jimmy Butler. Dorian Finney-Smith was in the same mold with Luka, where if he was just standing in a corner, cutting to the basket, doing all these basic little things, he does crash the offensive glass as well. He could function off of one of those Trey, Harden, LeBron level guys. But the other thing I will say just really quickly is I think if the Lakers made this trade 2 years ago, I would have absolutely loved it. I would have been like, this is great. The only
Especially if it would have been this cost 2 years ago when everybody was going for like 18 first-round picks.
Exactly. That is also something that I don't think that the Nets could have seen coming. Was the fact that first-round picks are like such a premium now. And one of the things that people like to say is like when the Mikal Bridges trade happened, they were like, first-round picks are overrated. And I'm like, they might have been 2 years ago when you could get a first-round pick for just a handful of rotation players. But now I think you could get like a legit player back for a first-round pick. I don't even know if we're getting guys like Dennis Schroeder and Dorian Finney-Smith for seconds. That means that like the level of what like a first-round pick will get you back is probably a little bit higher.
Yeah, and the market's been reset.
Yeah.
Like no one's calling and being like, Rudy Gobert got this many first round picks, so you have to give me this many for this.
Exactly.
Like everybody over that summer after that season was like, okay, we all got a little crazy there. Let's just go back to like a normal marketplace. Okay. We know not everyone's going to get a Rudy Gobert haul. And like, I think as far as this trade goes, I think that is good work by Rob Pelinka. It's like, you hate to hand it to him, but like, you got to hand it to him in this case. And he did. It is funny to me how much more visible, I just tweeted about this, but how much more visible he is when the Lakers are good or when people are happy about the team. Like there's this video of him like walking back through the background of the practice videos and it's like when the team is bad or when people are like yelling at him to make a trade, it's like you will not see Rob in the gym. You will not see him at games. You will not see him anywhere. Like he is like
he's not at Disneyland.
Cloak, like no, he's there, but he's just like he
hiding.
pays like the plaid people to escort him around to like, the VIP sections. Like
he grabs the active camo from Halo and just wanders around the fucking practice facility.
Who's that guy walking around saying that he was Kobe Bryant's agent?
Yeah, where's that guy? Where's that guy going? He's like the Predator. But
who's that guy yelling at the snake on the Jungle Book ride that it doesn't have enough Mamba mentality?
Oh God, I mean, I think so. I think this is like I think it was like a good trade, but now my concern is like the Lakers are starting to get dangerously close to they don't have no picks. What, they have two, I
I
think?
think they have 2 tradable firsts.
They have two
Yeah,
tradable
they have
firsts.
tradable first, yeah.
So this, to me, what this presages for me is that they are going to make some sort of big consolidation, like that they are going to make the Rui Hachimura, Jared Vanderbilt,
Or Gabe Vincent. Yeah,
Gabe Vincent. There we go. Like,
guys.
I think they've
Yeah.
been trying to be clear. Like, I think
Yeah.
that this is something that every time that it feels like a star's about to ask out, whether it's like Trae Young or Donovan Mitchell or whoever, they're always on the list, and people laugh at and they, oh, the Lakers. But then I go, well, like we just talked about how like no one's handing out first round picks at the level that they were before. I think the Mikal Bridges trade kind of fucked that up too,
Yeah.
in terms of like what the value for these players are. And then on top of that, I actually think far out first round picks from the Lakers, historically speaking, are actually pretty valuable. Like
Yeah.
I know we've had Harrison on a bunch and we've talked about this, but like the Lakers are always in the lottery. Even if they make the Western Conference Finals, they still have like the 17th pick in the draft because LeBron and AD are always out during the regular season and they have to fight to get into the play-in or whatever. Like, I mean, they just got Dalton Connect in this past draft. They actually ended up keeping their pick, but they've been in the top 17 or 18 in basically every draft except for the year that they won the title. Like pretty much
they won the title, yeah.
And then
I think
every
the
other year
after that, no, because they had to get in through the play-in the first year it was invented.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right. LeBron, I saw 3 rim shot.
Exactly. Yeah. So
one-eyed.
betting against the Lakers is not like, look, you're not probably going to end up like with what happened in the AD trade where they jumped up to 4, but you probably are going to end up with like decent enough picks. And I think the Lakers have been waiting for that. And I've been kind of a proponent of, I've changed my philosophy a little bit when it comes to this. I've been more of a proponent of like, hey, what the Knicks have done recently, where it's like, if that good player is available, just go get him, because the odds that Dorian Finney Smith comes to the Lakers, re-signs for a reasonable deal this offseason if he turns down his player option, and plays well enough off LeBron and AD to maintain his trade value is worth more than 3 second-round picks. And I've been saying that about like guys like Cam Johnson, where I'm like, I think the Rockets should just trade for Cam Johnson because they have all these picks, all this tradable salary. And if anything, Cam Johnson's trade value might actually go up with you, even if you still want to make that trade for the superstar level player that could potentially become available. So I mean, look, I think that I definitely think the Lakers need an extra ball handler. That's the other thing. And I do think that in this next month, they're probably going to be trying to be aggressive. Unfortunately, Dennis Schroeder's not available right now. Yeah. I literally said, I was like, does this mean
I don't think they were going to do the Dennis thing a third time. It's like, you know, he came in once, disclosed LeBron's back status, came in the second time, just started giving out like unauthorized injury updates. Like they were just like, LeBron was like, do not bring this man back to my team. I am not, he just keeps putting out my business. He thinks people aren't going to translate the German language interview, and he just says whatever. And I don't think Dennis was coming back.
Yeah,
although it would have been very funny if he returned for a third time.
It honestly, once again, I think it would be really funny if he could just stick to the bit and just sign a veterans minimum deal with the Minnesota Timberwolves after the season. Because then we will have had D'Angelo Russell, Dennis Schroeder, having played for literally the same exact 4 teams that D'Angelo Russell has played for in his entire career. I think it would be a great bit personally, but the possible Mike Conley replacement after this, I'm just saying it is, it's an idea, but
Dennis and Rudy Gobert would be one of the weirder locker rooms in the NBA.
There's a World War II joke to make here, Sam. Can you cook it up?
Maybe Patreon. We'll get back to you.
I was gonna say this isn't behind the paywall. I don't think, guys. I'm the job.
No. Yeah, we're gonna protect Harrison. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. There's I've been reading the comments. You know, it's not the worst time to be. Needing a point guard in the NBA is a pretty good place to be. You've got a lot of options. You know, like obviously Kevin brought up Zach. You know, people bringing up Fox is obviously
not a point guard.
They I don't think that they can get together enough contracts to trade for Zach at this point.
Not
with D'Lo.
With 30, I think with Gabe Vincent, what's Vanderbilt? Isn't he like 8 or 10?
I think it's like 8 to 10 if I remember correctly offhand.
They're not trading Austin Reeves. So if they're not
No.
trading Austin Reeves, then it's really tough to get there.
If you put Rui in, it's easier than you think. And DFS makes Rui a little bit more expendable.
Wait, could you do Rui, Vanderbilt, and Gabe Vincent and almost get there?
I think you're pretty close. I'll look it up. But
you actually might be onto something.
I don't think the Bulls would do it though, because the Bulls are dumb and they don't want first round picks and they want guys that can play. And so they're going to be like Jared Vanderbilt and Gabe Vincent. Those guys aren't healthy. They can't help us make a play-in push.
Also, long term, they tend to, and what the Nets just did here basically is they decided we'd rather have the cap space this summer than take on that kind of money back in terms of what Memphis was offering. So Memphis offered John Conchar, who looks like one of the worst contracts in the NBA. Despite when he signed it, I didn't really think anything of it because I was like, whatever, John. I don't know. Like, I don't have strong opinions on John Conchar, but Memphis always pays their guys and seemingly knows what they're doing when it comes to those things. Well, he's barely even in their rotation. He's kind of on the fringes because they're so deep this year. And then Luke Kennard, and then basically from what it has been reported, I don't know if this is slant from the Nets to try to cope a little bit, but basically Memphis wanted the Nets second round pick in this draft, and they would give them a top 18 protected Grizzlies first.
Yeah.
So that's basically trading 10, maybe 15 spots in the draft for, look, it's the second round pick thing. I think that what we just saw in this past draft, for example, OKC moved up to draft Dylan Jones at the end of the first, and I think they gave up 5 seconds. So I do think that seconds have some value if you're aiming for that end of the first, which is what they would have offered anyway. So in a way, if that is true, then I think that what the Nets did makes sense. I'm just, once again, I'm anti-win the press release kind of trades where it's like, oh, look, we got a first round pick, but then it's like what the Warriors sent for Jordan Poole 2 years ago, and it's top 20 protected, and then if it doesn't convey, it immediately turns into like a second.
Yeah.
And it's like this is fake anyway. So just from the Nets perspective on this whole thing, I think I think they fucked up not selling high on Dorian Finney Smith 2 years ago. But I understand. The only thing I would be worried about is literally what just happened with Dennis Schroeder if I'm them. Where Dennis Schroeder was like so competent, and then Cam Johnson and Claxton, like they keep accidentally winning games. And as you talked about earlier, like D'Lo is one of the most high variance players in the NBA, but he'll have a month where he's an all-star. And it could fuck you over, especially later in the season when teams really don't give a fuck. When the Nets have finally bought into tanking for the first time in their organization, and we're now getting to a point where they're like, I think they have like the 8th best odds or 9th best odds right now, and they need to get worse. And I think that might end up hurting them in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe conspiracy theory, maybe they promised D'Lo they'll pay him, above the MLE if he just doesn't go all out.
They're going to do the Joe Smith cap circumvention where they're like, listen.
They're like, look, your market's not looking good. We'll pay you more than anyone else will, but just like, just 75% out there. Okay. Just jogging,
I do think that is part of the calculation, because some of D'Lo's, the reports that came out were like, he's actually happy about this. He was like, I'm kind of done with the Lakers.
I guarantee you he's happy about this.
Yeah.
He gets to shoot more and like have
exactly
like it's
the end. Yeah. He's about to be a free agent, as Sam has talked about ad nauseum on the podcast. The Nets are the only team with cap space this summer, basically. Yeah. And if they're
one of the only teams that has a good D'Angelo Russell experience where they would be like, yeah, we'd pay this guy.
I'm just saying, they could like sign him to like a 2-year, $20 million deal with like a team option on the second year or something like that. And there's a chance that could be valuable if he does ball out for you.
Yeah.
You can trade him. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You could do that. So it's totally possible. By the way, Zach LaVine to the Lakers does work with Rui, Gabe Vincent, Vanderbilt. You do have to put Max Christie in there. I don't know how.
Untouchable.
Okay.
That's Pelinka's guy.
Yeah.
He's actually been playing kind of well recently.
Okay. Well, then
Yeah,
maybe
he's
not.
been dropping the bit. He's been solid lately. I would not actually make him untouchable, but he's been better.
You also might be able to do it without him.
All of a sudden, though, if they were able to do that, and then their starting five is Austin Reeves, Zach LaVine, Dorian Finney-Smith, LeBron, AD, that's a pretty good starting five.
That's like one of those fake Photoshop starting lineups where it's like who's going to stop this?
Yeah.
That's a trade machine war crime waiting to happen.
Yeah.
They would take back Dalen Terry. To make the roster spots work, they would get like Dalen Terry and like one other guy. But it's weird because of you do need to put Max Christie in because of the weird way that the trade exceptions are breaking on either side. But you can't
put in Hood Schifino. Did you try with Hood Schifino?
No, maybe. Hold on.
Bulls fans don't deserve that. I'm sorry.
Look, he went to Indiana.
Yeah, he goes home to the Midwest. You know,
he also sucked in Indiana, but
I don't know. I don't know if he's actually from the Midwest either.
I don't know either.
Maybe they like him
Pittsburgh or something.
Yeah.
That feels right.
It's like just barely not enough with Jalen Hood-Schifino. You need to put.
What if you put in Christian Wood?
You
Bronny is
let's do one of those old mid-season 6-for-1 trades.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is it becomes a 6-for-1, but you can get two back pretty easily because the Lakers have some sort of small trade exception. They've got a $1.8 million trade exception they can use to take back. I think Julian Phillips Julian Phillips and
THT can come home. Kev just pointed out that
was the one. Sorry, it was THT. That's who it was.
There we go.
Dalen Terry. Yeah.
The prodigal son returns, and then he beats Alex Caruso in a playoff series.
Amazing.
To vindicate Rob Pelinka fully on his way to a title.
Taylor Horton-Tucker fits perfectly into that trade exception. So it's Taylor Horton-Tucker,
let's go.
Dalen Terry, and Zach LaVine for Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent, Jared Vanderbilt, Jalen Hood-Schifino, and Christian Wood. That works.
All right, let's get it. Let's get it done.
Are we doing the War Crimes episode now?
Yeah.
The classic mid-season.
Imagine you're Shams and you're getting the text of that trade. It's like, wait, like legally you're doing this? You figured out.
Harrison, I have another level to this. So it would be a 5-for-3 trade, right? So you'd open up 2 roster spots for the Lakers. Yeah. Guess who's available as a free agent right now? Lonnie Walker, baby.
Oh.
Another former Laker.
Getting the band back together. Let's do it. And a Klutch client. Let's go.
And a Klutch client. By the way, that was the most shocking thing about all this. Dorian Finney Smith is not a Klutch guy. No connection to Lakers.
I had bits ready. The best one I could come up with was Rob was able to watch Shake Milton's career high against the Clippers because he doesn't have league pass, but he got that game locally.
Yeah, exactly. He was in the building. He was working on something in his office.
No. The Lakers don't own their own arena. He doesn't have an office there. Come on, Trill. His office is in El Segundo, 30 minutes away.
Oh, of course. How did I not know?
Is that I didn't know that. The Lakers don't own Staples Center or Crypto Arena or whatever it's called?
No. The Crypt, as we call it. They do not own it. No.
Who owns it? The Kings?
AEG. So AEG is like this conglomerate of like rich people basically that owns a lot of stuff. And I think it's Anschutz Entertainment Group. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, but they're also minority owners of the Lakers, and so that's why the Lakers get like preferable scheduling dates.
Oh, okay. I was wondering why, because it didn't make sense. The Clippers were getting chased out,
right?
Yeah, but that's why. Okay, all right. That's it.
The Lakers don't have the money to build an arena.
They're broke.
Yeah.
The small business loan. They need a PPP.
Exactly. Yeah.
Once bird flu kicks off here, we all go back into lockdown. We'll get the PPP ones.
They got to call it Big Baby.
That's how DFS is getting paid.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, quick question here. By the way, Jalen Hood-Schifino is from Pittsburgh. I just want that on the record. Okay. And Loser brings up a good comment here. Is Pittsburgh the Midwest? Let's have a debate.
I'm not familiar enough with geography to know that answer, so I plead the fifth.
I think Pittsburgh is basically Ohio and West Virginia, and Ohio is the Midwest.
Ohio's the Midwest.
West Virginia is like the South, but if you go to that region of like Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, it has major Midwest vibes.
Do you
Midwest Jason is good.
Because if you're gonna say Pittsburgh is the Midwest, then you have to say upstate New York is the Midwest.
No.
This is like one of those like
Culturally,
pancakes versus
different.
waffles. Well, then you hate oranges things. You're
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
no, that was a whole different sentence than what Trill just said.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking geography wise. I'm talking culturally. Pittsburgh is Midwest.
Yeah,
I don't know. Buffalo's
if you were gonna
pretty
tell
close.
me to guess just based on vibes, like I would have assumed Midwest. Like it just has like a Midwest rep vibe.
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
it
Yeah.
feels. I mean, it's fucking old steel and that kind of shit. Ton of rivers and bridges and.
That's what I was gonna say. It's more Appalachia to me, to be honest. Even though I know it's not in the Appalachian Mountains. So.
Yeah, but Appalachia is South and Midwest. Like that's what.
Yeah,
that's what it is. Is that I always said that it sounds like a Pittsburgh accent almost sounds Canadian a little bit. If you, it's the weirdest fucking thing. But
Somebody go
anyone who has
smoke
ever
that
been to Pittsburgh could be like, no, it kind of does. It's kind of like it's almost like Midwest, Southern, and Canadian in one. I don't know how to describe their accent, but it's very strange.
Shorty's just talking shit. You left your mom's in the hood? Somebody go smoke that you.
Jalen Hood Shafino.
That'd be incredible. Pittsburgh needs an NBA team. Great sports town.
I'm kind of surprised they've never even, it's never even been like petitioned or anything.
Did they not have one during like, I'm talking like the old, like, was there not a team that stopped through there at some point?
We had one.
I think they had an ABA team. I think
they might have had an ABA team.
I think it was ABA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think Moses Malone played for it or something. Like,
I honestly have no idea. I've made in 2K, I've definitely done the create a Pittsburgh team, which if you go to Pittsburgh, it's like one of those cities where like, it's like half Sixers fans, half Cavs fans, and or not even, it's like 40-40, and then 20% is just like everywhere else where it's like Lakers, Celtics, whatever.
The Pittsburgh Condors, originally called the Pittsburgh Pipers. Wow.
And the Pittsburgh Ironmen existed in 1947, folded after one season.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I felt like they had some team sort of roll through there that's like in the history book somewhere. You know, when you like look up like worst shooting percentages of all time, there's like some guy that was like a grocer that played for them one night because they needed an extra body.
Yeah. Yeah, they were during the era. We need to go back to that era. If we want the ratings to be good again, we need to go back to the Mikan era where everyone's true.
Yes, famously, that's when the NBA ratings were best. Was in Mikan's era.
Yeah, when people say I missed when I was growing up, I think I'm old enough to remember it. But.
I think the most inconvenient thing about sports is that they're live. People want the finals on tape delay again. You know.
Yeah,
exactly. That's you need to create. You need to put the entire NBA behind a Patreon paywall. I think that's how you fix it.
It's NBA only fans. You know, it's only for fans.
Perfect. Only NBA fans, baby.
Can I tell you something right now that is a fascinating bit of Pittsburgh Condors lore? So that the team was around for 5 years from 1967 to 1972, and they somehow had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 head coaches in their 5-year
That's worse than the Kings.
It really is. Also, Walt Serbiak played for them.
Wait, any relation to Wally Zerbiak?
Yeah, Wally Serbiak's dad, I believe.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So
he also hated Tyrese Halliburton's grandfather.
God, there were so many games. So this is so funny because they tried to move the team and they couldn't, so they folded the team and dispersed them, and it's very funny to hear the team. George Thompson went to the Memphis Tams, Mike Lewis to the Carolina Cougars, Skeeter Swift and James Silas to the
hold on. His name was Skeeter Swift?
Skeeter Swift. His full name Harley Edward Skeeter Swift Jr.
Wow.
Bart Harley
They
Jarvis.
just we need more nicknames like Skeeter Smith in today's NBA.
yeah.
You know?
That will get the ratings back up, baby.
Yeah.
That's the only thing we care about.
That's
here
the
is
thing. We don't
ratings.
have enough crazy nicknames. Everything's like DFS or CP3 or whatever. Like,
Exactly.
you know,
D-Lo. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
it's not creative. We need like,
Is James
I'm trying to-
Silas?
yeah,
Steven
we need more
Silas?
Skeeters.
The terrorists. Draymond's got that one on lock.
Yeah. Sure.
Someone called him Smother Teresa in my mentions the other day because of how much of his fine money has gone to charity.
Smothered.
Incredible.
That's really good.
Jesus Christ. Oh, man. That's
awesome.
I think that we need to make that the full-time nickname for.
At least get it on Basketball Reference, like one of the ones that nobody ever uses, but it's on there.
Exactly.
So when you go to his
Yeah,
page,
yeah,
you're like, wait, who called Draymond Smother Teresa?
Exactly. It's like
It would catch on.
Jared Jackson Jr.'s JJJ, but also the human armadillo? Like, what the fuck?
Nobody's ever called him that.
That's also just something I made up off the top of my head. So
I was
okay,
gonna
that
say,
makes
you could have
sense,
told
yeah.
me that was real and it was some
Yeah.
like Memphis local broadcast thing. Like,
Yeah.
the human armadillo, Jared Jackson Jr. All right, so man, this trade, man. By the way, JJ Redick reunited with two former teammates.
Yeah.
Shake
That's
Milton
crazy. Yeah.
And Dorian Finney Smith.
oh yeah, that's right, because he was on the Mavs at the end. Yeah,
They
I
played
forgot
together
about
for
his
2
like
months.
his. Yeah, good. Well, because he didn't really play at that
Yeah,
point.
he didn't.
Yeah,
No. He was traded there, and then remember he got pissed at David Griffin because he was like, "How dare you take me away from my family I don't even live with in New Orleans?" he was told that he was going to be traded back to the East Coast.
Well, see, the thing that you got to understand about JJ Redick is like he is a podcaster through and through, so he just wants someone to get like angry at justifiably. So it doesn't matter what happens. Like he's going to find a reason that he has been aggrieved by it. You know, it's like when people were talking, like asked him about the ratings or whatever, you know, it's like, well, you know, I just don't think that we have enough people advancing the sport like my podcast was, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If there were 1,000 old man in the threes, the NBA would be saved.
Yeah.
Also,
just imagine you just clone JJ Redick and it's just like an entire booth of JJ Redicks just talking to like condescending to each other about the game that they're watching.
Yeah, it's a perfect culture fit in LA. He just throws
like,
everyone.
Well, JJ, I think the thing that you'd understand if you actually watch the games is that
throwing everyone under the genie bus.
Hey,
folks.
There we go.
This one.
I guess just that's my takeaway. The more I thought about this trade is I don't think the Lakers are done. I think the Lakers are actually going to like try to like do something with their first round picks.
When I got the notification, which was by that I mean my wife woke me up because she saw the Shams notification while scrolling her phone on my day off when I'm not a Lakers blogger, and woke me up because she's like, "Oh, this is something that you have to deal with." And it's like, "No, I don't. I was sleeping." But anyway, when I found out that D'Angelo Russell was traded via that method, my first thought was like this does get rid of like one of the Lakers' better expiring contracts, like in terms of like being able to get to a bigger salary number and also have the team, because last year, what was the thing? It was like teams didn't want to take on D'Angelo Russell because he had a player option, and they didn't want him to be able to determine what their books were going to look like that summer by opting in or opting out and having that decision. This year, he doesn't have that because it's expiring. And so I think, the thing with the Lakers' remaining trade assets is, yes, you can cobble together the money to get to a bigger number, but it's like Gabe Vincent, who has been healthy for like 2 months, but doesn't really he looks like a shell of his former self. And Jared Vanderbilt, who I think is on track for a return in the 2025 opener. And then like Rui, who, he's fine. Like he's whatever as a role player, but he's making like 18 million. And so it's like, at that point, you're having to at least they kept the first round picks. So I think they could do something. But again, the thing that you have to remember is like Rob Pelinka GMs as though he's like, what is the least likely to get me fired? And so now you can both say, look, I made a trade. It was these frauds, LeBron and Anthony Davis, that couldn't get it done. Once I traded for, playoff caliber wing Dorian Finney Smith, like if they haven't proven that they're worth investing a first round pick in. And so I'm going to hold on to that because I'm looking out for the long-term sustainable Lakers excellence.
I've been kind of they shouldn't trade their first round picks for that exact reason, because I think that the level of trade that they need to make would be kind of on that one that I talked about earlier, where it's like you're getting like a Trae Young or a Donovan Mitchell. I don't think this changes my opinion on that, but I do think that if the Lakers are able to make one more move where they get like an extra ball handler, whether it is, not that Zach LaVine's like a point guard or anything, but between Reeves, LeBron, and AD, you should have enough creation there that I think that once again, I would have liked this trade a lot more 2 years ago when LeBron was still LeBron. Like, I think that he's so up and down now, and maybe he's saving himself for the playoffs that he can have one last run. Like, he was really good in that Nuggets series last year. But
today's his 40th birthday, guys. We got to do a 10-minute segment talking about how unprecedented this is.
I was gonna say, is this a birthday present to LeBron to be like, here, shut the fuck up?
Yeah. No, this is LeBron told Rob that he wasn't allowed to come to the party unless he got a trade done. And so Shake Milton and Dorian Finney-Smith, they're going to jump out of the cake tonight. They're like, hey, King, happy 40th.
Perfect. Amazing.
Yeah.
God, Shake Milton, what a birthday present that is. By the way, they stole my idea. I literally have posted this on Twitter 3 days ago that the Sixers were going to trade for Dorian. Because in my mind,
is Rob Pelinka a hog? Is this where he gets like his?
It's possible.
Maybe, yeah.
It's possible he's tuned in right now. He probably is loving this.
He's watching it on his phone at Disneyland. He's like, exactly. They said I could go today because I got a trade done.
Yep. So the thing is that, like, I kept looking at what's the most boring trade that Daryl Morey could make at this deadline that everyone kind of jerks him off for and is like, wow, what a great trade. And the idea in my head was sending out expiring salary, or as close to expiring salary as you can, with like KJ Martin and then like Andre Drummond or whatever. And then to get back Dorian Finney-Smith and Shake Milton. In my mind, I was saying send the fake first we have, basically, which is essentially what Memphis tried to do. But Rob Pelinka, obviously a hog, beat me to it, because this is the perfect half-measure trade to make. And also, I think you'll get a few weeks to see what this looks like. I'm surprised that JJ Redick said that Dorian Finney-Smith is not starting, because I feel like you trade for him to start him. Like,
yeah.
My guess is that he's going to start eventually, but again, like I think JJ understands that, like, for locker room dynamic, like he wants him to beat Rui out for the spot. I think is sort of how that's going to go.
That makes sense. And I think that the Lakers at least now have one perimeter defender that they can throw on the other team's best guard or wing or whoever in Dorian Finney-Smith that will be able to stay on the court offensively, as we said, playoff level wing, whatever. If they look really good in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I think Will's pointed this out before, when you make a trade, like the Knicks do this every year, the Lakers have done it a few times, you tend to, PJ Washington on the Mavs last year, like, just because teams haven't been able to scout you with this new player, and just because it is something fresh and new and gets the team reinvigorated, they tend to perform way above expectations. And I think that could talk the Lakers into being potential buyers at this deadline in like a real meaningful way, beyond like a nice trade like this, like getting someone who actually will make a difference in addition to the Dorian Finney-Smith trade. And then I'll be like, this is like an A. For now, I gave it a B+. I gave the Nets a C+, because I would have traded him 2 years ago. And I think that they waited too long to trade Dorian Finney-Smith, despite the fact that, like, by the way, I don't think impact metrics are everything, but like even when he was on a team like the Nets that really doesn't have a ton of creation, he's top 35 in EPM this year. Like, his advanced numbers are really good, and he brings a level of versatility that the Lakers haven't had before. Even though he's a little bit older, he's like 31 going on 32. He knows how to play off players like Luka and LeBron. I think that defensively, the weird thing is that the Lakers right now are kind of middle of the pack in both offense and defense. So maybe a guy like Dorian Finney-Smith just adds that extra element of two-way ability to be able to stay on the court for them, and it will help them see, you know, what they could potentially do here in the next few weeks. I'd be a little bit more open to pushing in the chips just based on how AD's playing this year too.
I just wanted to add to your you get like sort of an intangible morale boost from doing a trade. Like I think the Lakers with LeBron sort of up and down, LeBron doesn't lock in every single night in the regular season anymore, as you would expect. He's 40, but like LeBron is prone to these, like he starts to go off because he's so excited that the team made a move, and it's like I got this new guy to play with, and they're he's open for three in the corner and stuff like and AD just tends to sort of like vacillate as well in terms of like his level of engagement on a night-to-night basis. And so I think the Lakers are fairly prone to that. And so I see what you're saying. And like, I do wonder if to the point, like people are dropping the Fox slop in the chat. Like, I wonder if that is a guy like Klutch client, we've already been getting the leaks about Rich Paul's meeting with management. It's really important, guys. He's not demanding a trade. He's not demanding that Mike Brown be fired. He just wants to know what the Kings' future plan is.
Right. No, that makes total
You're
sense.
legally allowed to meet with the team and just ask what the future plan is. You can't get fined for that.
You could do it every 4 months like he has for the last year if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we're meeting to talk about the future plans again. So it's just a classic tactic.
De'Aaron Fox just got a coach fired and was not sad about it. And so he's a great Lakers culture fit, I think.
Perfect. Yeah, also, okay, let's see. Big enough name. I mean, that's the kind of trade where you'd have to trade Austin Reeves, where it's like, it would probably be like Reeves connects the salary to make the deal work, and then all the picks that you can trade. But
which is just 2. So like the Kings, man, that may not be good enough for the Kings.
Right. And also, like, I don't know, like I'm kind of to the point where I think that the Lakers, one of the reasons why D'Angelo Russell was kind of a sneaky good fit for the Lakers last year was because of what you just said, was that both Reeves and D'Lo aren't pure offensive engines, but they can fake as offensive engines in terms of they'll have random scoring stretches and nights where they can just effectively run an offense. And like you're seeing that a little bit this year, especially with Austin Reeves, where like I think he had 16 assists the other night. And
yeah, I mean that was against the Kings, so there's like it's a little bit there's inflation,
a little Fugazi,
but like
a little Fugazi. But
the Kings the vibes are so bad with the Kings, they didn't even get the dead cat bounce from firing the coach they hated.
Oof, dude. So let's talk about that a little bit, because I have you're familiar with Mike Brown. I have it on the list here because we have not talked about it yet. Obviously, the Fox slop is going crazy right now. On the last episode, the Patreon episode we did last week, we talked about the Fox trade. And my exact response was they're going to do a half measure move. I actually thought they were also going to trade for Dorian Finney Smith, to be completely honest with you. The Nets obviously
were furious. Their fans were furious that they didn't.
Yeah, because they've just been starving for like a playable wing for so long, and Keegan Murray's having a little bit of a slump this year, so they've kind of tripled down on the offensive thing that doesn't really fit with DeMar DeRozan being added into the mix. And I thought that there was an obvious half measure trade for them to make, but I guess they didn't want, because Kevin Huerter is not an expiring, they didn't want to take back the Kevin Huerter deal. That kind of throws a wrench in everything for the Nets end of it, and the Kings might have not even been engaged at all in these deals. But long story short on this, I thought they were going to do that. Turns out the half measure was firing the coach and doing it in such a Kings manner too, to call him while he's in the car on the way to the plane right after practice to go to Los Angeles, basically after he just gave a press conference about how everything's going to be fine and they're going to turn it around.
They called him to fire him?
He was in his car.
He finished a practice and he was driving to the airport and they called him to fire him.
He did interviews with the press at the practice about
how they were going to turn things around.
Yeah. And then in the car on the way to the team plane, they said, you're not getting on that plane.
It would
have been so much funnier if they fired him on the plane and then they had to finish the flight.
They just sit there.
They're like, we wanted to wait till you were here in person.
When Dion Waiters accidentally took too many edibles on the plane and they almost had to land it when he played for the Heat.
He's having a medical. Oh no, actually, he's just really high. He's gonna be fine. He's just really high.
But Mike Brown is living out the movie Red Eye with Cillian Murphy and Rachel McAdams. You've been fired by the Sacramento Kings.
I can't believe that there's a higher level of respect in the New York City hinge dating scene than there is for being the coach of the Sacramento Kings.
Well, historically speaking, if you get fired by the Kings, there's one of two pathways. Either your career fizzles out and you're done, or you go and you play for a team that has one of the greatest players of all time and you win a championship. So, I mean, Mike Malone coached the Kings.
Malone. I was trying to think. I was like, Dave Yeager? Who did he coach?
Dave Yeager coached Shake Milton in Philadelphia.
That's right.
Yeah.
As an assistant for Doc Rivers.
Yeah.
They know. But no, the obvious thing here is that this is just another shit. They just extended him over the summer.
No, and then they extended him. Do you remember how chaotic it was?
Yes.
There was like report extension talks have broken down between Mike Brown and the Kings. And then it was like a week later, they're like, yep, we extended him. And it's like, oh, so you extended him like at gunpoint, basically.
Yeah,
so you're not committed to him at all. You just did it because you want him to be like locked in for camp.
Right. And also, like, look, I know that Mike Brown hasn't been great this year for the Kings. Part of it is the DeMar DeRozan move, as we talked about.
It was such a clear. The owner got a call from the player's agent and was like, "You can get this all-star, so why?" And then calls their front office. They're like, "Why are you not signing DeMar? We can get DeMar."
Yep, that's exactly what it was.
The video going around today of him walking into the summer league game with Not Like Us playing, like waving to the crowd, all excited with DeMar.
Yeah, and then Vivek tried to quote it, and he was like, "They're nothing like us." The proper version of "They Not Like Us." They're nothing like us.
Yeah.
God, Vivek is so interesting because he's like a bad owner in such a different way from a lot of other bad owners. Where he's like, it's like enthusiasm. You know what I'm saying?
It's like dumb rich guy, like that. You know,
It's a
2000 really excited and wants to do the right thing.
Yeah. Like he's not like I would never like put him on a worst owner list because I do think he's like genuinely like trying his best. You know, he's not just like trying to like scrap. He's like never gonna sell the team.
Hold on. They've made the playoffs one time in like 20 years, dude. I don't know how you can't put him on the worst owner.
Well, he wasn't the owner the whole 20.
He wasn't. The Maloofs were. Yeah, they were.
Until what? But he bought them what? 12 years ago? Okay,
I think.
All right, so it's been 10 years, and they've made the playoffs once.
The reason, like, again, it's like in the old-fashioned chaotic owner fashion, you know, like he wanted to hire, like they hired Mike Brown, like basically against his will. He wanted to hire Mark Jackson because he knew him from the Warriors.
Oh my God. Which is so funny that
2014, sorry. So it's been, 10 years.
Yeah. It's very funny that coming off the Warriors' 4th championship, and his reaction was, well, I know Mark Jackson from the Warriors.
He was the caterpillar that turned them into the butterfly. You know, he like Vivek respects the caterpillar. Like
he's literally like, all right, we just got to get this guy in here. And then the second we're about to perform well, we fire him and we hire our Steve Kerr. Don't hire Steve Kerr's main assistant that's been there for all 4 championships, at least 3 of the 4 championships, was literally an assistant coach, I think, for 6-7 years for them at least. I look, once again, I'm always a, what are you laughing at?
I just found out that Vivek's uncle is like a huge bigwig. He was the general secretary of the Communist Party of India.
What? Let's go.
BT Ranadive was general secretary for the Communist Party of India.
Change my opinion. He's based
1948 to 1950. So,
Vivek, you're on the best owners list. Mike Brown is holding you back. De'Aaron Fox is holding you back.
Yeah. Comrade Vivek,
exactly.
He's got perfect fit for the capital of California. Communist California
with Sabonis, whose family's from the USSR, right? Am I correct here? Or Sabonis?
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, I think Sabonis grew up here, but like,
right, he did. Yeah, he's Lithuanian American, but
yeah. That's so funny, dude. I can't believe. Sorry, this is what I'm doing while we're all talking about sports. Is going down a Wikipedia rabbit hole on Vivek Ranadive.
He needs to hire Sean Marks,
communist
Cultural Revolution Marxism in California. Sean Marxism
or Bobby Marks. You know, it doesn't matter. It's just Marks.
Oh boy.
God damn.
Bobby Marks, spiritual GM of the Kings. You know, like
Right.
like if I told you he was a Kings GM for like a year or something and then got fired, like got a bad deal, ended up with like it's like, yeah, that makes sense.
That feels
Yeah,
right in my
it
heart.
feels
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Who was that? Was it Pete D'Alessandro? Am I making that up? Was that a Kings?
No, that's
GM
a
or
real
something?
guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was a Kings GM. Yeah.
It was a Kings GM. God, there were so many bad Kings GMs for so long. Kings fans really do
They
have it.
basically like let Vladdy quit, and then they're like, "No, but you can. It's okay, fine. You can hang around and
We
like
still
give
like
me
you."
advice."
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
he was at the game after they fired Mike Brown.
Amazing.
That's
I was like, if I was a
incredible.
Kings
franchise
fan, I would
legend,
feel,
you know.
I would feel so bad. No, but it was in LA.
Amazing. Wow, that is even funnier.
I don't understand. Yeah, I don't know. The Kings really are rapidly going back to like bottom tier, like joke status franchise, and I feel bad because I don't know. I think it's going to be a while if they trade Fox. I think it's going to be a while.
I
Is
mean,
this the NBA's attempt to fix ratings, though? Like, it's like, you know, people always say like the league's just better when like the Lakers and the Celtics and the Knicks, you know, whatever are good. Like, is the league just better when the Kings are the Kings? You know, they realize the Kings being a functional organization has been bad for ratings. Like the NBA
last time it
needs
was
a
bad
Joker.
was mid 2000s.
You know what I mean? Like the NBA needs it's the Joker to its Batman, and it's just the Kings doing the dumbest things imaginable.
Exactly.
There is a tragedy that like Zach Lowe is away from the game while this is going on. Zach Lowe would be having a field day right now
Oh my god.
because that's one of the only franchises where he calls him like he sees him. Like
Yeah.
every other franchise, he has like clearly has some in and
Yeah.
will like be very gentle when they do dumb things. The Kings are the only franchise where Zach Lowe would be like, yeah, these guys need to get thrown off a cliff. They're like they don't
Bobby
know what
Marks,
they're doing.
can we turn the beam into some sort of explosive device?
Yes.
So we can ruin their entire franchise, blow it up?
Blow it up. We gotta send it away. Blow it up. Blow it up, Bobby Marks.
But it's also funny because it's like, all right, so just a little Kings temperature check here.
Okay.
Lou Will said that Mike Brown wanted to move DeMar to the bench, which then Fox had to come out and say, no, that didn't happen.
I wonder, you know, if Lou Williams played with any of the parties involved there.
Who did he play with? Malik?
DeMar.
Oh, DeMar and Malik Monk.
God.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He played. Him and DeMar started out with the Raptors together.
Oh,
Oh,
right.
God. What a deep.
Also,
So
we
I
have
just
Kevin
love
Huerter.
like the thought process of DeMar's like, Lou, can you believe he tried to ask me, DeMar DeRozan, former All-Star, to come off the bench? And Lou's like, that's crazy. I'm going to generate some sympathy and make it clear to people that they messed up, that Mike Brown had messed up and he was a bad coach. And then everybody's like, damn, Mike Brown was right.
That's the well, it's very funny because the funny part about all this is that it's obvious that this group doesn't work, right? That, I mean, I'm mad for talking myself into it because for the second straight year, I was like, well, the Kings are going to be one of the only teams that give a shit about the regular season. But my whole thing has been for the last 2 years is you can't just put talent together and say, this is what's going to win. It has to make at least a little bit of sense together. And these top 4 players on this roster, Sabonis, Fox, DeMar, Monk, do not make sense together. And what you should have been putting around these guys, and it's even if you see it in the data, that if you put a defensive guy who can shoot and move the ball, Keegan Murray, Keon Ellis, the guys that they currently have on the roster that aren't fully offensively tilted like it worked the one season 2 years ago when they really gave a shit and they were a top 3 seed, if you give them some complementary pieces around them, even if it's Harrison Barnes like last year who's washed, it's going to work out better for your on-court fit and what your outcomes are going to be from there. I even think if you look at Keegan Murray, at Keon Ellis's on-offs right now, which by the way, Keon Ellis, they're still only playing him like 15, 20 minutes a game. He's very obviously important to their team. Right now, in the 591 minutes that he plays, he has an 8.4 net rating. In the 960 minutes he does not play, they have a negative 3.6 net rating, and their offensive rating is almost 10 points per 100 possessions worse when he's on the bench than when he plays. And this is just the fact of you're now putting together all these guys who want to take mid-rangers, who just want to cook and do all of their same shit that individually it can work on different teams and in different lineups. When you put all of these guys on the same team, you're just going to have a math problem when you're going up against the rest of the league. And then defensively, you're not going to be able to stop anyone. So I just think that it's obvious right now what needs to happen is that these guys need to be split up, whether it's someone gets traded or someone comes off the bench or whatever it is. You need to figure out how to surround these guys with complementary pieces. Some are already on the roster. And it's obvious that this would be at least a temporary solution until you can figure out what the real core issue is, which I think that they just made a mistake signing DeMar DeRozan. That's kind of what the bottom line is here, is that even though DeMar's like a good player, it doesn't matter if your needs are guys who can shoot open threes, guys who can defend, guys who will rebound. Like, DeMar isn't doing shit, and your three best players already do all the things that he wants to do.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
It was a bad move a clear bad move from the moment the signing was announced.
Yeah, I'm mad that I talked myself into it because I like DeMar. I was lower on them by the time the season came around. Sam, me and you got into it over this because I was like, I saw in preseason, I was like, oh, this team sucks. They went 0-4 in preseason. All of their lineups look terrible. None of the pieces fit. And I was like, they're not even, I think I had them as the 10 seed coming in after I saw that. I'm mad that I talked myself into this originally because I was like, well, Harrison Barnes is so bad. But it is really just the power of fit and how much talent there is in the NBA and how important fit is. Did
DeMar DeRozan ruin the team, or did he just show everyone how bad Sabonis is?
Sabonis has been their best player.
They're losing, so
Sabonis has like a 70 true shooting right now. He's having one of his best seasons of his career.
They should trade him right now because he has the most trade value.
Of his value.
Supposedly.
Yeah,
he's at the peak of his value
right now.
There you go. Dorian Finney Smith, don't make the same mistake.
Yeah, people who aren't paying attention the way I am will make the mistake of paying way too much, and everything will snap into place.
So you trade Sabonis, and then you still start Fox, DeMar, and Monk.
Yes.
Genius.
It's 3 alphas.
Remember the
Bulls? Yep. You need 3 alphas. It's always worked every time it's been tried.
I will say, like, in the Kings' defense, I do think that we have a track record now of Mike Brown starting to wear on guys, sometimes after not even all that long, like especially star players with sort of like the way that he is. I mean, he's extremely blunt in the media, and I'm not saying like, like that he's not right a lot of the time or whatever. Like, I mean, I personally don't care. Like, I enjoy when coaches are that candid, but I think that, like you saw Kobe try to death stare him out of there for like trying to be the smartest guy in the room and like invent the Princeton around like Dwight and, Kobe and Powell and all of that stuff. And then, he flamed out with the Cavs twice. And like, now you have this where it's like, the vibes were good for the way, first little while.
All equal players, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah.
I mean, just Sacramento, to be clear.
Yeah.
He basically is that.
And it's like, the vibes were good when he came in to start. He has a lot of enthusiasm, everything was good. But then it's like, if you keep calling your franchise player out for defensive mistakes when like he is sort of the one like fueling your offense and stuff, like eventually that is going to wear on him. And you could see why De'Aaron Fox like might have sort of been fed up. Like, again, I'm not saying he's like justified and he's like, oh, Mike Brown was the problem. And like, we should fire him because he's being mean to me in post-game pressers. But, I mean, we've just seen this is sort of the Mike Brown cycle.
Yeah, and
he's clearly smart. He just doesn't. He's not the greatest manager of people.
He's a good tactician. He's a great assistant coach, probably. Because assistant coaches have to be good tacticians, strategy-wise. They have to come up with
those
different
Warriors
ideas.
Teams, the Spurs teams that he was a part of. Like, he's clearly like a super smart basketball guy. I just don't think that he's like that great at like the ego star.
Probably be a really good college coach. Like, it is tough to.
Well, not anymore.
Why is that?
Well, because they can just transfer if Mike Brown's mean to them.
Oh, true. It's a good point. Yeah.
Coach.
I forgot that woke has killed the college basketball. I don't know if you saw
my sweet baby college basketball that I loved so much previous to this.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if you saw. I think it was Larinaga, who is the coach for Miami, that just quit. They made the Final Four 2 years ago, and then he was bitching in the press conference when he got fired because he was like, or he retired or whatever. He's like, 2 years ago we made the Final Four, and then 7 of our guys wanted to transfer, and I'm like, pay up, broke bitch. I don't give a fuck. This is you like getting paid $2 million a year, right? Aren't you like all of these coaches are like always like the free market capitalist guys, and then the second that the college players start getting paid, they're like, wait a minute.
Well, they're like, wait, but I had to work for exposure to get to this point, so
Exactly.
you also should. Like I was eating ramen and sharing an apartment with a 1-bedroom apartment with 7 guys coming up, and so like you should also want to do that. That's the ideal life experience for a 20-year-old.
Exactly. And student loans are good. They teach you lessons. You should be in debt forever because you wanted to get an education. You
can't put a price on a college degree. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. And also, I will not be coaching this school next year because they don't want to pay me $3 million and give me a company Lamborghini.
I want to get a job at like a local paper somewhere and write like Coach Cal should sacrifice money to the NIL fund if he really wants to win.
Let's go.
Okay.
Let's get it.
He should take it's like flip the thing around that like people were doing on NBA play, like people always do on NBA players, where it's like, oh, he took the max, he's not worth that, he doesn't care about winning. It's like, let's do that to the college coaches. It's like, oh,
perfect.
Sorry, he's just not built like that anymore. If he wanted to, he would sacrifice $1 million off his paycheck for the NIL. It would go a lot further with the players.
That's actually brilliant. I actually think we should start reframing it in that way.
Yeah,
we need a PR person to get on that. This is you are speaking truth to power right now. But yeah. So the only thing the Kings fans really have to look forward to now is Devin Carter balling out, my number 1 overall pick from this past draft. I had him number 1 on my board.
Speak on it.
He balled out in the G League, which means virtually nothing. I just want to be clear here. Here's the thing. If you suck in the G League, you're not an NBA player, you're bad. If you're good in the G League, you have a shot. And I think the thing that I wanted to see with Carter in his first game back was, how does the shot look? The shot looks the same, but it goes in. He's one of those weird players that like kind of shoots from like his chest. I'm not sure that's going to work at the NBA level, but he can shoot and he has crazy range and he's a defensive beast. And he is kind of the ideal, like if they don't want to play Keon Ellis, I think they need to speed up the track of getting Devin Carter to the NBA as soon as possible and get him real minutes, because the kind of guy that they've been missing is a Devin Carter type. He's going to work his ass off on defense. He's going to hit open shots. He's going to be able to create and extend advantages off of the star players. And he's already 22, which, obviously is not an ideal. I mean, you've seen it with Dalton Connect, where everyone's like, do you remember that thing where it was like, why didn't Dalton Connect go second in the draft? Because I'm like, because he turns 24 in March. Like,
well, the only games that count are the games tonight. Okay, it's like what that other guy might do in 2 years. Who cares? Dalton
exactly
out right now.
Yeah, exactly. They'll never be as good as Dalton. Dalton Connect is very clearly the best player from this draft because he had 30 points against the Utah Jazz in November of his rookie season. But the Devin Carter thing, for a team like the Kings that is desperate for that archetype of guy, this is actually a bonus. I mean, like in the same way that Connect actually was. Like the Lakers just needed playable wings that could shoot, and Carter is very clearly exactly the kind of player that the Kings are missing. The only problem is that they want to keep him in the G League for a little bit. There's how many games do we have left? Do we have 50 games left in the season? I don't know. Are we at over 30, 40?
Yeah, I think we
40
are
games,
over 30.
whatever it is.
Yeah, I think we're at around 30.
How good would Devin Carter have to play for the Kings to win Rookie of the Year? Only playing like 40 games. He's already been recalled up, so there you go.
Oh, yeah, that's right. There's no 65 game limit for Rookie of the Year, right?
And this class is like Edie's out again.
Edie, Demon Edie, baby.
But he only had a concussion, so only had a few days.
Not declare a Rookie of the Year this year.
We've just left it blank.
Yeah, they're like it was the rookies that we met along the way was the real.
Yeah. The 4 starters in our hearts. The thing is that like Yves Missy, I know it does sound insane to say he only has a concussion, but he's not out 2 months, hopefully, is what I'm trying to say about Demon Edie. He's in concussion protocol right now.
As somebody who has been concussed, and is a fellow head injury survivor, like my thoughts are out with Zach Edey right now because that shit is so much more serious than I realized. Like I couldn't look at screens for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, that is the thing. It is kind of disgusting that football has normalized it so much that I'm like, oh, he only has a concussion. It's literally.
No, you're a monster, and I think it's about time somebody called you out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It should be the player's choices. He should have been able to play the rest of the Washington game, and he should have been able to play the Dallas game. The playoffs are on the line, okay? Things are more important.
You guys are talking me into it. Even if Drake May didn't have a concussion in his game, he should sit this next game. Mitch Trubisky, I believe in you. I believe in you, Mitch Trubisky. You are going to cook for the Bills.
The Patriots?
No, he's on the Bills.
Oh, okay.
We need to lock in because the Giants won. The Patriots have the number 1 pick right now.
Yeah, I mean, we just talked about the Sacramento Kings. Talk about tortured franchises. The New England Patriots really need the number 1 pick in this draft. Bill Simmons really needs something to look forward to.
I would trade being a Patriots fan for being a Kings fan 110%.
Of course.
It would be so easy. It'd be so easy. They have no idea how hard it was to watch Belichick and Brady leave.
Just, it's better.
Well, they're going to lose their Belichick and Brady and Fox and Monk.
Exactly.
Fox and Mike Brown. It's just like that was.
It's the same thing. Yeah.
In the last 20 years, that probably is the closest they've come.
Yeah, God. I think I do think the Kings pick situation is not as dire as I thought it was.
They only owe 1 from the Kevin Huerter trade, right?
There's also a Spurs swap in 2023.
The swap is not great from the
Huerter one protected though.
It is protected.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's this year and next year. It has to get through this year and next year. It's 1 to 12 this year and 1 to 10 next year. So
I keep thinking about these teams that are kind of like, the Kings have more talent than the Raptors, but like I keep thinking about like the Raptors and the Kings and these teams that are like, look, they're not the tanking teams that we're used to, right? Like they're not like the this process Sixers or even the Thunder a few years ago minus Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But you have these teams that have like NBA players on them. And I wonder how much that is going to matter in terms of just like plugging in like a Cooper Flagg or a Dylan Harper or whoever, and how much better that's going to be for these teams and being able to like, what I'm trying to say is like, I think teams will be able to slingshot from the bottom of the NBA year to year a little bit easier than it was in the past. Because
we're sort of seeing it with the Spurs this year.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's also like Wemby is.
Yeah.
But
even Wemby, like the Spurs would have been better than they were last year if they had like played Wemby more than like 20 minutes a game and not tried to play power forward at point guard and like done like the most blatant tank job we've ever seen. Like it is the talent level of the league means that when these top picks come in, like if they're ready to play right away, then they're going to have more capable players around them than they would have in the past.
What I'm trying to say is that if you want some hopium as a Kings fan, that pick is protected. And let's just say I know how Daryl Morey adjacent GMs operate. I see how Raphael Stone operates. I see how, outside of the Halliburton for Sabonis trade, which is the boldest thing I've ever seen a Daryl Morey adjacent GM do, Monty McNair will probably sit on his hands at this deadline. They'll probably be one of the 10 worst teams in the NBA. They'll probably get a top 10 pick, and they'll probably draft someone who's like pretty. Hopefully, they don't make the Davion Mitchell mistake like they did last time. Which, by the way, I love to point this out. That's really the turning point for the Kings of the last decade, because if everyone wanted them to draft Şengün, and if they had just drafted Şengün with the 9th pick, I think what happened was they wanted Franz Wagner. Franz went 1 pick before them, so they took Davion Mitchell, who they thought was the best player on the board. If they had drafted Şengün, they would have never had to trade Halliburton for Sabonis, and then you would have Fox, Halliburton, Şengün. Now, is that fit ideal long term? No, but the Kings just want to be like decent. But the Kings don't care about winning championships; they just want to be in the playoffs. And that,
I mean, I'm sure they care about it long term, but for them, it's like it's such a not, like a, I don't know. I mean, maybe not
it's such like a foreign idea.
Yeah, that's true. They just want their team to like not embarrass them, I guess. But
I do just want to point out that like they have been to the conference finals more recently than the Sixers, so I guess I should probably shut the fuck up. By the way, the only fan base that isn't allowed to make the jokes about Embiid never making the conference finals are Knicks fans. You have literally, it's been longer that since you've made the conference finals that the only teams that have a longer streak than the Sixers and the Knicks, I think, are the Hornets, who have never made it.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I think it's the Hornets / Pelicans because they've never made it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think the Pelicans have.
Yeah. Think about any other team. Because the Clippers made it. They broke their streak of never making it. Literally, I can't think of, the Wizards. That's probably it. They haven't made it since the 70s. So it's the Wizards, the Hornets, then it goes Knicks, Sixers. Even the Kings are on the other side of that. I think the Pelicans are also in that first group because they've never made one. I just want to say, Knicks fans are the only ones. I always see them making those jokes, and I was like, I picked them to make the conference finals this year, by the way. But I just make it to the conference finals before you make the fucking joke. Okay.
Did the Grizzlies ever make it?
I think the Grizzlies made it. Yeah,
they did with the Zebo Marc Gasol team.
That's right.
Yeah,
okay,
they made it one year. I think they lost to the Spurs or something.
Okay, yeah.
I think they lost to the Warriors.
I think you're right. Yep.
Yeah, I think it was the first Steph. It was the first Warriors title run, not the first Steph year.
Was that the year they were the 8th seed and they beat the number 1 seed Spurs?
No, I think that was 2011. If I remember.
That was the year before. Okay.
Or maybe 2011 was the reverse, because I think that those two, there was a 2-7 where the underdog won, and then 1-8 where the underdog won.
Okay.
Or something crazy like that. Yeah, but
okay.
Still,
that's what I just remember, like them beating the Spurs with grit and grind and being like, "Holy fuck!" That was great. Like, because that was like height of its power, Spurs. Like, that was like Spurs Death Star.
Yeah, they won a ton of games that year, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was really, really strong. But anyway.
Oh, that was it. 2014, Westbrook got injured, so it was a little bit like the Pacers making it last year. But once again, they made it.
Hey, you still made it.
I will take a Mickey Conference Finals. I've said this many times. Give me the Mickey Conference Finals appearance. I just want one. The Celtics get like 500. Can you give me one?
Look,
I get one?
To admit this, but like the conference finals appearance the Lakers made me happy, and they won a title like 3 years before that.
Making the Final Four
to have your team be good
is a win. Like that's making the conference finals is something that, once again, there's two kinds of hopium. One is being in the Final Four, and 2 is having like a young player, like hopefully the Kings can have with Devin Carter. Now I'm hoping that he turns out to be really good for them, because there really isn't much else in terms of that can like make the once again the standard for teams like the Knicks has been so low for so long that them making the second round the last 2 years has been paraded around like they won a championship, which is cool. I don't have a problem with that. But the way that their fans talk, you would think they're a fucking dynasty. Like I'm like make one conference finals before you talk all this shit on the Sixers. Yes, you won last year with Joel Embiid on one knee. You'd probably beat us again this year because we fucking suck. But
I'm sure when you tell them that it's with Joel Embiid on one knee, they feel like it's coming from a respectful place and they're willing to hear you out on your points. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. No, don't you know that the Minnesota Timberwolves, I don't know if you saw this, but the Minnesota Timberwolves broadcast last night was complaining about Embiid flopping. And I was like, he's not even playing. Like once again, Sixers fans have gone way too far with trying to defend Joel Embiid, but also at the same time, I see why they've been driven insane. Because like this game was literally the Spurs and the Timberwolves, and the broadcaster was like talking about Joel Embiid flopping. Anyway, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, there was like something like that this preseason where Brian Scalabrine on a Celtics broadcast was like, "Ah, that guy should have taken flopping lessons from LeBron." Yeah. And it's like, what?
Why you going out of your way to like knife a guy, especially when it's LeBron James? It's very funny because
it's like personal for Scal because LeBron kicked his ass. Yeah. Oh wait, no, he didn't. Never mind. Yeah, they won that. They won those ones. Everyone, but.
Will said
he probably had to guard him, and he just took that personally. He's like, some of those fouls he got on me, that was BS. He flopped.
Will said Leon Rose is the best GM in league history, and it's for beating Tobias Harris and Kelly Oubre in the playoffs. Because the Knicks are actually really good this year, and they're probably going to destroy the Sixers if they play. But still, I don't care. Last thing before we get out of here. Is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander actually going to win this MVP? It's New Year's, so I think we could finally talk about MVP a little bit. Because we have not talked about it at all.
The first draw poll has come out. I think that's like when it's finally you're allowed.
So yeah, Tim Bontemps brings us under the Christmas tree. He brings us the first straw poll.
I was trying to think of like a Tim Bontemps Elf on a Shelf joke or something, like, but I can't get there.
Bon Tomp, the Bon Iver, Bon Winter.
Nailed it.
There we go. All right, got
Gosh.
it. I missed this. What was the results of the straw poll?
I think Jokic won, but this was like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
I think it went Jokic, SGA, Giannis, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong.
Giannis, huh?
No, Giannis was second, right? Because
Okay,
didn't a bunch of people flip because of the play-in game, which hilariously is not even supposed to count for, the cup, because it's not even supposed to count for.
No, the cup counts. Let's be clear. Even if it doesn't count for your record, it should count for the MVP.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Hey, look, you don't have to sell me, but it was just funny that like it was like one game. They were like, yeah, actually, like they're texting Bontemps. They're like, I got to change my vote.
They're literally watching it like, all right, SGA.
Like that's the most anyone has ever respected the cup is when like 20 journalists change their vote based on they're like, no, Giannis is a winner. Shea's a fraud. Like Giannis beat him in this final.
But I was told head-to-heads don't matter.
Yeah,
because Jokic and Embiid, it doesn't matter. Because Joel Embiid is basketball Hitler and has ruined the sport. By the way, the cross comp people are making right now is I've seen a few people make this. They're like, well, Lamar should win MVP because he's better than Josh Allen. It's kind of like the Jokic and Embiid thing where Josh Allen might get a pity MVP, and I'm like, but wouldn't Embiid be the Lamar in this scenario because he's bad in the playoffs and Josh Allen's good in the playoffs like Jokic is?
Kind of. I mean, well, they're both kind of. Mahomes is kind of the Jokic, right?
That's the problem. Is that neither of them are Jokic.
Yeah, like that's
Mahomes is just in his LeBron era where he doesn't give a fuck. So he's just like, I don't care about the touchdown.
Well, Mahomes is very quietly shaped like Jokic too. He's an everyman MVP.
Oh man, I can't wait until the Doughboy has more titles than Brady. Let's go.
Brady. Don't forget what Brady looked like coming out of the draft too.
No, he went down to Miami.
Sorry, I'm just imagining Jokic trying to scramble for a first down. Like,
yeah,
we can't tackle this guy.
It'd be amazing.
Just bouncing off of him. He's out there like visibly like he's mad that looking like he's mad he's playing and like he wants to be anywhere else. He's just like walking through people.
He would play quarterback like Mahomes. He'd do the weird shovel passes and stuff like that.
It's like the Andy Reid QB clips or punter clips or whatever that they show on every like broadcast. That's what Jokic looks like next to the other NFL players.
Yeah, no, he would be. I mean, he would be just as graceful on an NFL field, and also impossible to take down. There's no way that they would have like 7 guys trying to tackle him. By the way, just a quick question for everyone in here.
Yeah.
I think that just watching a little bit of the Thunder outside of the Cup. I think this has obviously been Shea's best season outside of that little 3-point shooting slump that he had to start the year. Are you aware of what Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is shooting on 15 2-point attempts per game this year?
I'm going to guess you said that like it was good, so I'm going to say 68%.
Okay, not that good. I mean, he's the lead creator for his team. He's not Josh Hart.
Okay.
He's shooting 59.9% from 2-point range on 15 attempts per game, which is even better than last year, which already he was the runner-up for MVP. The Thunder are probably going to win 65 games, maybe even upwards of 70 if they really give a shit. And now he's even in VORP, he is past Jokic. He is out VORPing Jokic. He's number 1 in EPM.
He deserves it just for that. If you can figure out a way to...
Well, don't worry. They'll change the formula next year so Jokic is back on top. That's what happened when Embiid and SGA beat him in EPM last year. They said, enough of this. We're changing the formula.
Like, this is not determining true value anymore.
This is unbelievable.
It's called estimated for a reason. We have to change it, okay? The estimates are changing.
There's clearly a margin for error here that we did not account for. So I think that it is SGA's award to lose at this point just because the Nuggets and the Bucks are not that good. Like, once again, the Jokic has basically bucked every historical trend when it comes to MVP. Giannis hasn't really gotten the same favor. The 2 times he won MVP, they were very clearly the best team in the regular season. They were the number 1 seed. I think that it would have to take like a heroic effort from one of those two, making the top 5. Will's trying to wish cast in the comments right now the Bucks entirely missing the playoffs, which I think the Nets have their pick. But They're in the
Can you
7th
imagine
seed
the
right
doc
now.
quotes we'd get if that happened?
Oh my God. Please. Them losing in the play-in. I said Buck Sixers play-in is going to be a movie, dude.
He's like, I tried to tell Adam that the play-in was a bad idea. That was not a good doc. That was Lawrence Fishburne doing doc.
Yeah. Doc has the vocal fry that's hard to really nail down.
Yeah, you can't unless you like are actively smoking while trying to talk.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Yeah. Doc is truly one of one. But yeah, right now they are okay. So they're the 6th seed, but they're tied with the Heat and the Pacers are just below them. The Sixers are now up to, I believe they're 3 games back from the Bucks, who are in the 6th seed. Which that's kind of where the Bucks are at. And then in the West, like, look, the Nuggets right now are the 7th seed, and that will fluctuate back and forth. But I just don't think that if either of these teams are in the play-in race, that you can hand them the MVP over a guy who's very clearly the best player and not even fully healthy team that could win like 65 games.
Hasn't Jokic already won MVP from the play-in? Or no, they were like the 6th seed or something.
So they were the 6th seed, and those were pretty extreme circumstances.
And those were horrible teams around him. Yeah.
It was a horrible team. And if I remember correctly, was that the same year that LeBron and Embiid both got hurt and they were in the race for MVP? No, I think
you're right.
I think the next year Embiid got hurt. Mean, Embiid gets hurt every year. But I do think that Embiid getting hurt when he did in 2022 made it so that was like Jokic just kind of ran away with it. They were so bad, and he got them to the 6th seed. And the Sixers were a little bit worse that year because that was the Ben Simmons trade saga. They didn't trade for Harden until later. If anything, the Harden thing might have hurt him a little bit in terms of the MVP race as well.
How much help does Embiid need,
Exactly. And then the year that you could have made the other argument for Embiid winning MVP was 2021 when the Sixers were the 1 seed, but he got hurt that year. So it's basically like Jokic won on the fact that he was carrying this bad team and also was just much healthier and more available than Embiid that season as well. And now you're getting to a point where like he doesn't really have those same arguments over SGA. Like SGA doesn't get hurt. He's pretty much the most I don't think SGA has the highs of Jokic and Giannis, where like on any given night, Jokic and Giannis can look like the greatest players of all time. But SGA has the consistency of pretty much no star that we've seen recently in terms of like his bad games are like still not that bad.
Yeah.
Hello? Who's the... Yeah, what's the flirting and harassment? Jason Tatum and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? What you want? That's what you want me to say right now? Okay, I'll try it.
Make the case for Tatum then, BMM man.
Oh no, I'm not making the case for Tatum. Other way, negative to SGA.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
So yeah. This is what I'm saying. I think because I picked SGA before the year. I said SGA, they're going to win 65 games. They're going to give it to SGA because he's in the mix. I also think that this is going to exit Shai Gilgeous-Alexander out of the cool zone with a velocity that we've never seen before.
The pressure's going to be on him in the playoffs.
He's going to win the MVP, and all of a sudden, he is going to go into the Embiid tier of
probably
scrutiny. They better win this year because I think from here on out, there's a lot of talk about how Sam Presti is holding on to his first-round picks, and he's not going to trade. He's going to, do whatever the thing. I'm a little skeptical. Look, the Thunder are a regular season wins machine. I'm like not sure they're going to be like a convincing playoff team, like in the same way. I'm a little skeptical to be totally honest. I don't think, and I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a part of that because of what you just said, where he's very good, obviously, but he doesn't have that world destroying gear change that a lot of these guys, as much as I make fun of like Jason Tatum, who has a similar issue, by the way, which is why everyone is fucking turned on him. He still did put up like 50 points in a game 7. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has never done anything like that in a playoff series, and they lost to Luka Doncic and a Mavs team that was not as good as them last year. And by the way, that's not going to be like an outlier. All of these teams around you are going to have a generationally like good player, and it's going to come down to SGA. So I don't know. I think he's going to win the MVP this year, but I also think that this is going to be it's going to be a little bit of a curse for him, because it's going to take him from fun, young Anthony Edwards, oh boy, look at how cool SGA is, to now you're an MVP.
He's also
it's going to be like,
not that young, by the way.
Yeah.
He's the same age. He's 2018 draft. Like I think he's older than Luka. I think he's 26, if I remember correctly.
Something like that. I'm just saying,
yeah,
like,
that's because he was buried on those Clippers teams for a little while, or not like buried, but you know,
he's 26. Yeah. He actually turns 27 in March.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
he's in his prime now. Like, this is like prime years for his archetype of player. It's like 26.
It's him and Shake Milton's era.
30. You know? Exactly. Yeah. Two of the all-time 2018 greats from that draft. When we redraft in a few years, it's going to be like Luka, Shea, 1 or 2 there. By the way, this is kind of insane. Isn't it weird that Shea is going to potentially win an MVP before Luka?
Yeah.
That is kind of crazy when you
Someone
put it
said
like
this
that.
to me, and because Luka has that gear that Sam's talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where Luka can just go into fuck you mode and is just
okay. But how much credit does Luka get for I mean, again, I think in a vacuum, I would take Luka over Shea, but like, and he for sure is a playoff riser, but how much of that is just like him trying harder in the playoffs versus I think I'm clocking in and out during the regular season.
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing that Chiodo said that really, he's like, there's never been a player in NBA history that it's a disappointment that they're the 5th best player in the NBA. It's literally like, it's just him, because when we saw him in the bubble and what he was doing at his age and how good he was as a second-year player, I think Anthony Davis is probably the only other one that you could consider in that tier in terms of like what we thought they were going to be versus what they are.
Maybe Zion, but I mean, I guess he had the early injury stuff, but like Zion, there was a lot of buzz that he was going to be that guy, like coming into the draft.
Yeah, and that might be more, and you could maybe make the case for AD too. These injuries are starting to catch up with Luka a little bit. Like, Luka did not look like Luka in the playoffs last year. He's out with this injury right now that is, going to keep him out.
Having these calf things.
Right. Yeah. Right. And that's definitely worrisome. But I'm also a little bit worried that people are burying Luka a little bit too early.
Yes.
Because he always has these stretches where he just kind of looks like lackadaisical. He can't really stay healthy. And then he has like a week or a month or a playoff series where he's just that fucking guy. And like, I have seen him in the Suns series a few years ago when it was literally like, other than LeBron in Game 7 against the Warriors in that game that they lost, I don't think I've ever seen just a player just mentally destroy a team in the same way that Luka did in that Game 7 against the Suns a few years ago. And then last year, again, even when he doesn't look like himself in that series against the Timberwolves, where it's like a pivotal game, and he just comes out and is just unbelievable. So once again, Luka's still 25, if I remember correctly. I don't think we should be burying Luka right now. But I also think that, like, for where we thought he was going to be, I think it's surprising that guys like SGA, Tatum, Jokic, like, catching up with him in a way, or even passing him like Jokic, catching up with him and being in the same tier as him is a disappointment based on who we thought he was going to be. And by the way, he's also made the NBA finals and been to the conference finals twice already. He's suffering from his own success is what I'm trying to get at here.
He could have been, I mean, he's never going to take care of his body the way LeBron does to play to at least 40, but like, he had a real chance to be like
Jokic kind of took it more seriously the last few years and became obviously the best player in the NBA.
Well, I'm saying that like Luka could have like challenged for like LeBron's like first team All NBA. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's such an absurd thing. How many first team All NBAs LeBron's made? It's like, it's like 15 or 17 or some fucking absurd number like that. And Luka's been there pretty much every year since he came into the league, besides his rookie year, and he's not going to make it this year. Yeah,
the first time since his second season in the NBA, right? And he's made first team All NBA like 4 times already, I think.
Yeah,
like it's not just you made All NBA, you made first team.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
Five first teams. Yeah,
and he's doing it in honestly a little bit more competitive NBA environment than it was when LeBron was making him in his early career. He had to beat out like really bad players like Kobe.
Certainly in a better.
Harrison's got
Certainly in a better conference.
Yes. Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
The West is just fucking stacked right now. But Seth just commented, last thing before we get out of here, Seth said Shea was the best player in the Mavs series last year. That's not true. PJ Washington was.
Yeah.
We all have our own Kevin Herters, okay?
Yeah.
The PJ is actually good now, at least. Because the thing is that, like, it feels especially bad when a guy is just like Caleb Martin, for example, is a perfect example. Like, Sam hears the name and starts to, because that player sucking against everyone else is like the worst thing.
It just makes you madder. Yeah.
It makes you mad because, like, at least PJ Washington is like legitimately good now. Like, if that wasn't like some fluke thing, like, he's actually been like one of the best players on the Mavs this year. But long story short, the guys that keep you up at night and make you fucking want to jump off a building are the ones who are these fringe rotation players. That Kevin Herter's been pretty much bad except for 1 year ever since when he killed the Sixers.
Wizards fans with Kelly Olynyk is another.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
There's so many although you would say
I would disagree, but you know, I'll indulge them in their weird fantasies.
Lonnie Walker's still making fucking money off of and clout off of the one game he had against the Warriors. What, 3 years ago at this point? 2 years ago? I think it was 2 years ago.
It was 2 playoffs ago. Yeah. It'll be 3. It'll be 3 years ago when these playoffs come around.
And then he's going to come back and he's going to do it again for the Lakers this year.
No, for the Sixers. I heard they're interested.
Let's go. I'm in on that.
You said you needed guard ball handling. You know,
bro. I literally just need someone
who
is
Philly
not
guy.
He's from Reading, which is like an hour away.
Okay.
But like still close enough for me. Fucking he is not Eric Gordon. Literally anyone who, if your government name is not Eric Gordon or Kyle Lowry, sign me the fuck up, dude. I want to make other trades, but immediately sign. Yabu's come over from the EuroLeague and helped us. Lonnie Walker's next. Redemption arc, baby. We'd love to see it.
Goddamn.
And then once the Lakers send Gabe Vincent to China, then he can come back and sort of, and save the Sixers season.
Exactly. That common China redemption.
You just go ball out in the CBA for like 2 weeks, and then you come back to the NBA. It happens all the time.
Exactly. Jermer Fredette. I can't think of anyone else that so.
I'll indulge you guys. Do we one last before we get out of here? I'm moving up the Celtics panic meter. We're up to 3 now.
So I said it was 2 on the Patreon episode last week, right?
I think we're up to 3 now.
Because we went from like a firm's after that Knicks game, I was like, they're definitely winning the title again this year.
Yes.
That first game of the season, I was like, this team is just solved basketball.
Yeah, I've been at 0 all year, and now they've lost like I think 5 of their last 7.
I was going to say,
it's like Steve Kerr not playing you in the Olympics and like beefing with Nike, like that can fuel you for like a week. It's not going to fuel you for 82 games, to lock in at that level.
They've already lost 2 more games at home than they did last year.
That's the thing, is that the fact that they've been losing home games to like, I do think that there is a part of I'm going Bill mode here. There is a part of teams wanting to give you their best game and you're just not able to lock in at the same level. But the thing that is more important to me is like Drew, Porzingis, and Horford all teetering on that edge of, I wouldn't say washed, but like Porzingis can't stay
going
healthy.
down a level.
Going down a level where like they were unbeatably good last year. Yes. And like I said, I think they would have beat whoever they played. Even if every team was fully healthy, even if the Nuggets got to the finals, they would have won. This year is the first, we're starting to see finally a little bit of, I'm still sticking with them as the favorites, but I think that moving the panic meter from 2 to 3, and they should get benefit of the doubt, but we tend to do this with repeat champions. And like Sam, you called it out last year with the Timberwolves beating the Nuggets. Like, we always over-index that because it is so fucking hard in the modern NBA to win back-to-back titles that I think that people do forget that it's just to lock in that long and be healthy and good that long is just really tough.
Great quote just sent by Will in the chat. LeBron, can we win a championship right now? No, I don't think so. Awesome.
Well, I mean, it's December. You can't.
Like, you literally cannot. Yeah,
he was answering the question literally. He's like, no, the NBA finals are in June.
No,
like
we need 5 more months.
He's like the NBA Cup was like last week. Like today,
Exactly.
we cannot win an NBA championship. You know,
He said, I think that's the plan. I would love to end it here in terms of ending his career
Yeah.
with the Lakers. I would
Yep.
love for it to end here. I came here to finish this last stage of my career and to finish it off. Hopefully I don't have to go anywhere before my career is over. And then he talked about, like, I don't want to be naive. This is a business. Essentially implicating that he could be traded. Like they would trade LeBron James without him asking.
He has
So
no
funny.
trade clause.
He has a no trade clause. He would have to be the one.
He's like, you know, sometimes the business just gets in the way. Like, he just means, like, sometimes the business of this team being ran terribly gets in the way of me wanting to stay here. Like, you know,
Amazing. He's so good, dude. He's so
I love.
fucking good.
We're never gonna have a star as unintentionally funny as him
Nope.
again. I don't think.
He's so good. Wemby, you have massive shoes to fill, dude. And I know you have very large feet, but it's still
No, see, Wemby. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Wemby can get there because he's trying so hard to be cool and hipster and different and whatever.
going to
That
play
he'll
chess in the
like,
park.
like super cringy zone,
Yeah.
like LeBron does. Maybe he can get there. Maybe he really is the next one.
He's reading Sanderson. That's like too nerdy. I can't get over that. He's not going to win an NBA championship while he's reading Mormon fantasy. Like that is unacceptable, and I won't allow it. I got to go ahead.
My favorite thing about the Wemby chess in the park thing was he was talking about, he's like, they asked him, they're like, did you win? And he's like, well, I lost to 2 pros. And it's like, wait, 2 pros showed up at the park to play against you? And he's like, but I won against my brother. And it's like, wait, so you went and did a meetup at the park and you played against 2 professional chess players and your brother when a bunch of other fans showed up to be there? You're like, no, let me get this game in with my brother real quick.
Yeah, chess
That's
pros
so
are just hanging out waiting for NBA players to tweet, come play me.
They're like Pokemon trainers. They're just like in the park.
Yeah.
They're like, welcome to my gym, Whippy. Let's see if you can earn this badge.
Oh shit, I see another pro chess player is over in Prospect Park right now. I gotta make a run for it.
That's how Wemby did it. That's how he dodged the other fans who wanted to play chess with him. He walked around them, not walking into their eye line, so they couldn't get the little exclamation point bubble and close in on him.
Yeah, they just jump up there like, I see you there. You have to play against me.
If you make eye contact with Wemby, he has to do chess. He has to do chess against you.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be back later in the week for the Patreon episode. Everyone have a happy new year. Stay safe.
Stay safe.
We'll talk soon.
We'll see you in 2025.
Yeah. We'll see you next year.
Wow. We'll see you next year. Woo!
Thank you, Harrison, for joining us.
All
Thank
right.
you to Klutch and SB Nation for letting Harrison come on and spew some propaganda. We really appreciate that.
Yes.
Always fun, guys.
Peace.
Peace.